It's football time, and we scored a dime. Football's on, so let's smoke a bong. TGIF.
On this week's episode of Thank God It's Fantasy, the gang has a very special guest on to once again discuss the Dan Levitard Show with Stugat's Fantasy Draft. Starring, I'll Be Damned It's Wes as Commissioner, Squirrely Dan's older brother as the Godfather, He's Got the Goods Too as DraftKings' Worst Nightmare, and featuring Capo as Capo of the Stugat's Army, Wade Jones as Wade Jones, and our very special guest, singer, writer, producer, and all-around swell fella, YETI BLANC! And Drinks with Ron is Ernest T. Bass. We join this episode already in progress.
Well, now that I'm tethered to the machine, though, Ron, I can't run to the refrigerator for more beers, so I had to get a cooler, but it's only got 8 in there. I don't know if I'm going to make it an hour or not with this.
Well, what are we going to set the over-under at for beers on this one?
The over-under is going to be 6.5.
6.5. Okay, writing that down.
Hey, Bo is here.
80.
There he is. Real G's move in silence. Like lasagna.
The S is silent at the beginning. That's how silent it is. Oh my God, I'm going to the ocean. That was such a bad joke.
That's a fine. I didn't even hear it, and that's a fine.
Penalty box.
Oh, so what's going on, guys?
Pre-game.
The over-under on beers.
Oh.
Pre-game.
Yep, we cat's standing on my notes. 6.5? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe. Yep.
I think these are pushing 7%, so I'm going to take the under.
That's a wise choice. Our best guest of honor is in the waiting room there, fellas. We ready to get this show on the road?
Yeehaw.
Welcome, Yeti.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeti.
Is
Troy, I don't know what color hair, or why I would have assumed you were not like full on Santa Claus, but here we are.
Look at
I
that
even use the
salad.
purple shampoo for old people to keep it white and shiny.
Hey, thanks for coming. This is awesome. I wanted to start right off the bat and thank you for your donations to the brackets.
ESPN. If you're out there listening, I'm sorry.
He should be apologizing to me. My feelings are hurt. I mean,
that's right. That's what I'm talking about. Damn straight.
He didn't want anything from YETIBlanc.com. That's YETIBlanc.com, where you can buy different shirts and other merchandise, and soon I'll have more music up at YETIBlanc.com. Did I mention it was YETIBlanc.com?
That .com?
It's a .com.
.net?
.com. I like how Ron's cat is looking at me instead of Ron.
Oh man, no, he I've been trying to get rid of him since I don't know how long.
I heard a couple episodes ago the cat wouldn't leave you alone.
Oh no, he's already bumped onto the windscreen and into the stand, and now he's sitting directly on top of all of my notes. So hopefully, I mean, worst case, I'll try to do it from memory. I feel rude booting the cat.
It'll just come back the very next day. The cat came back. They thought he was a goner, but the cat came back. He just wouldn't stay away.
Nice.
Are you recording separate tracks?
No.
Okay, then I will not record my native audio and send it to you. My Zoom audio always comes in like really hot for some reason, and I can't fix it.
I've just been throwing compression on there and kind of hoping for the best. That's been SOP over here. Speaking of which, that's kind of takes us right into the production end there. So how did that whole thing come to be? I know, like, geographically, clearly you're not down there in Florida. So how does this whole thing come about?
Yeah, so really it was forming a relationship with Chris by sending in show songs. And that kind of, he just like that I didn't know I was building that foundation there. My wife was kind of like always she's like, you're spending all this time doing songs you're not getting paid for. I'm like, I get it, but I'm building relationships. And and like I'm not outwardly like that isn't what I'm outwardly trying to do, but it is a byproduct. You know, I'm meeting a lot of people that are fun and you know, meeting people on Twitter that I'm having fun talking to, and then, you know, getting some exposure to the show. And so it got to the point where Chris is like, if it ever doesn't get played, it's all on Mike. Of course, he just blamed it all on Mike, but it's really, it's a mixture of probably, if it didn't get played, it was probably 80% Mike, 20% Chris forgot to send it in. It was, you know, one of those two. And usually, I mean, almost everything I submitted got played. There were a few that didn't. My Michael Doliak song that was a take on the Foo Fighters Monkey Wrench.
Get Doliak up off the bench. A couple free throws in a bench. He'll put his knee on make for friends. Get Doliak up off the bench.
It didn't get played, but I think that it was just behind the Doliak thing, and it was like over 3 minutes long, or maybe it was 2 minutes. Either way, the first couple of songs we got the full things played, but then after that you really had to keep it tight down to like 1 minute. But I did a full recreation on that. I didn't do any karaoke tracks. Like I played all the stuff, you know, made the instrumental Monkey Wrench. I really thought that he'll put his D on Rafe LaFrance would seal
the deal?
seal it, but it didn't. So that was a little ego punch. But either way, most of the stuff I sent in got played. If it didn't, either it just didn't fit time wise or something along those lines. So built that relationship, and then, you know, Greg and Chris were making. I couldn't tell if they were making jokes, but for a couple of weeks they had said something along the lines of Chris needs an intern, or but then there was one episode that just stood out a little bit more, like you know, Chris really needs help because of some other things he was going to be taking on. That was before they announced that Cinephile was joining Meadowlark. I think that might have been announced right before Meadowlark in and of itself was announced. It'd be right about a year ago from now. In fact, all of this was really hitting the heights a year ago, which was like a year after we started sending in all the songs. So actually this next Monday's episode will be 1 year for me on the show.
Wow.
So over the last couple of weeks, it was 1 year from when we started having these talks. And so either way, I heard Chris say something, you know, it made it sound like they actually might be looking to get somebody. So I just DM'd Greg and I'm like, I don't know if you're looking for anybody, you know, but if you are, I'm your guy. Maybe, I guess, you know, I was very kind of, you know, coy about it, but then I get a message from Chris. I was just basically, I was dumb enough to ask, you know,
right.
And
Stugatz, shoot your shot.
Right. And so Chris got a DM back from Chris with some, you know, his classic eyeball emojis that he loves to do. and he said, my dad said you sent him a message. Let's talk. He wasn't sure if you were serious or not. And I told him that, no, he actually knows what he's doing. He's, you know, started his own show with Andrew, and, you know, I hear what he does with his music. I think he knows his stuff to be at least a minor bit of help to us. So we got to talking, had a couple of chats, and within a week or so it was, we want you. And so here we are a year later.
Wow.
And it's been pretty cool.
I
And,
don't want to
herding
put your business
cats
out there, but question: you're so committed to music. How much of that is just a side hustle, and how much of it is part of what you do to feed the fam?
It's all side hustle right now. You know, doing something creative like this with music and with, you know, voice is my, you know, like if you had to ask me what would I want to be doing for my day job, it would be that it would be that, doing creative things with music or the voice. But that doesn't feed the family yet. But, you know, this is another thing. It's building my resume. It's getting me more exposure. And I will tell you, I love working for the COTE'S. Like, it is the most rewarding work that I've put in. Just because we get to do just fun crap. And
I don't know. That ship episode was rough, man. How much stuff do you have to listen to get through that today?
I only cut like 3 or 4 minutes of what they sent me. It was actually pretty easy. I had a lot of fun with this episode. But yeah, this was actually pretty easy edit. The hardest thing I had to do was just put in the, man overboard and, the dumb transitions. And that's really it. The rest of it was pretty much, they kept it pretty tight. I only cut a few things out. So, and nothing embarrassing. There was actually nothing like over there was nothing like no red flags that I had to cut out to save the show or anything.
Disappointing. Expect more of the all-inclusive.
I haven't gotten to it yet, but did they discuss how drunk they got every night?
No, they discussed getting drinks, but they didn't. They weren't like, I was falling all over the place. I mean, I could hear it. A decent amount.
Because I loved it when Chris said that Greg was playing roulette by himself on one of the cruises in the past. So that's pretty entertaining.
That was great.
Yeah, so they actually held it together pretty good. Like Chris at one point was like, "Hey, make me sound not drunk," and I was like, "You actually sound like the last 5 words it could kind of slur, but the rest of it was really clear, dude. You're good. You're fine." And
I wish they would have been just wasted. I mean, that
would have probably made for a harder edit on me. So I appreciate
make me sound like. Does he think you have a not drunk filter that you can just go
right? Yeah, it's a plug-in from.
Yeah, it was like $9.99.
The Antares people, the Antares, the folks over at Antares who make auto tune. They have an auto sober plug-in.
It's like a Greg in the Bush filter.
But he'd sound like a stately diplomat falling in through that filter. So
one step, 2 step, I'm in a bush. Oh shucks. Christopher, come retrieve me from said foliage.
And did you hear that?
The azalea.
And did you hear that, Clone Nation? The COTE'S are awesome to work for.
That's right. They are. The COTE'S are awesome to work for. Like I said, it's Chris actually like I'm a manager at my day job, and Chris, like, especially early on, was so good about coaching what they want and give me tips right away as far as the on-air stuff is concerned, and a couple of things about the editing that he wanted me to change a little bit. And I was just like, I was so impressed because most of my managers have never been that fast. Like he wouldn't let it sit. He'd, like after recording our first few episodes, like after each episode, he'd give me a call and he'd be like, try this or what, like he early on, like right away, he was like, here's a little tip. He says, you're used to running your own show where you're the first voice, you're the third voice here. So do more, listening and thinking about what you're going to say so that you can get in and get out, and like, I was really appreciative of that instant feedback. There was nothing personal about it. It was just quick. It was just like, hey, here's what we'd like to see. Awesome. Let's rock and roll. And it's like, I would wish that I got that from some of my managers, but I would love to have had that from the majority of managers I've had, which I do not. They'll wait for something to blow up. And so,
or just real ambiguity to what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah. They'll kind of, they'll beat around the proverbial foliage, or the aforementioned foliage.
Yes.
The Greg Cody Memorial foliage. That's what we call
it. Does Greg have stickers left? I
never got one either. Dang it. I should have. I couldn't find a stamp.
He does have stickers left. He actually brought some on the cruise, so I don't know if they'll survive the cruise. But he does have some on the cruise. So yeah, he does have a few left. I'm not sure how many, but he does have a few.
The stickers have tested positive for COVID. They will not be making it back.
Well, if you tried to put them out in the rain, like you put them on your car, they definitely caught the vid. They fade away really quick. He didn't order the glossy, like with the outdoor finish on it. So maybe
hopefully
one day.
It's not like the same kind of. Nope, it's Capo.
Yeti, sorry if you covered this already since I showed up late. I remember when you got the job with the Greg Cody show, but how did it come about? Did they audition people? Did you know? I'm curious.
Cap's going to try to draft me for a third time now.
Well, I have an idea of how you got picked.
No, go for it. Let's see how off you are.
Okay, so Greg had like a Survivor type of tournament set up with accounts from Twitter, and you guys all had to like go battle it out, and it didn't really come down to who won the events. It was just who Greg liked best, and you won. And on the note of the stickers, can I just have permission to make some bootlegs and post them around?
No.
Can I have your Oh, damn. Okay.
It's trademarked.
No, but stay tuned. Okay, so
First,
first,
the
Cap.
show killer sound. God, Cap.
All right, Cap. I'm gonna do this on behalf of Pam. And so if you had listened to the Lauer After Hours episode right after I got hired, the whole story's there. And in fact, I'm still answering the first question. If they were to have me on right now, I'd still be answering the first question. It's still going on. But have you seen the video for Beat It? Michael Jackson's Beat It. I should clarify, Michael Jackson's Beat It, not anything else. Where the gang gets together and they lash their arms and they have the knife fight. Let's just say Greg ended up with 10 less followers because they were dead, and I was the last man standing. Which makes me think, does anyone ever notice that to be in a gang in the 80s, according to music videos, you also had to be an off-Broadway dancer? Like it was part of the initiation. You had to pass a dancing audition to be in their street gang. That's right.
Right. But the markets were bad, so the streets were just swarmed with off-Broadway dancers that were just unemployed and looking for a bad time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stabbing
an
in
affinity
sync.
for knives.
Right. Well, all in
leather.
sync.
A lot of leather also.
So Cap, basically I heard them talk about it and I asked. I heard them talk about possibly needing some help and I just asked, and there we go. That was the first and only to ask, and I got the job. So well, he's breathing, so let's hire him on.
That's pretty awesome if that's really true.
Yeah, that's really how easy it was. I mean, it came for a year after building up the relationship with Chris by sending in show songs. But
right. I just remember when they said they were announcing a producer, I was like, okay, it's going to be Juju, right? Because they're going to just get him. They got him already, and I know that Juju and Greg love each other, and so I mean, I think we were all pretty excited to hear that it was someone we knew also and were fans of or friendly with, So
yeah. It was cool. Like a lot of people were guessing Juju. People went directly to Andrew. Which Andrew knew, and his inability to answer because he said he wouldn't say, but like Steak like cornered him, and when Andrew didn't answer, Steak just went in and called it and said it's Yeti, and I just kept quiet the whole night. I basically stayed off of Twitter for the whole night, and ignored any DMs that I got so I could so I wouldn't outright say anything. So. But
I don't know who's running this, but can I bring up a topic I've been dying to know for a year almost?
Hell yeah.
The Freedom guests that you had were like the most amazing, peculiar. You got to talk about how did you get? I mean, did you guys get rejected by a bunch of people because it was 3 a.m. or
no? I was really, really hoping that Method Man, because Method Man was going to join at some point, but nobody knew when. I was really hoping he would just call in during the Greg Cody hour because he was in The Cobbler, and I wanted Greg to talk about calling Don Shula the Cobbler, but that didn't pan out. But I would have loved the dynamic of Greg trying to talk to Method Man about old school hip hop. That's my style, because Greg he's reggae man, he's old school hip hop man, he's Salt Life, he's everything. But no, the belly button doctor, John Roberts, he had reached out to the show at some point, I don't remember when, about Greg's belly button. Or we had talked about needing a doctor, and he reached out. He's like, I'm not a belly button doctor, but I like the show. So that was, Chris arranged that. And then
is there such a thing as a belly button doctor?
I mean, just a general surgeon,
They deliver babies.
Was he even a doctor? Or did you just like the show?
So yeah, he liked the show, but he was a radiologist, I think. But I mean, he's an actual like doctor that deals with that type of stuff. Not like a rad tech or anything.
I was gonna say he was the rad tech. He was just taking people to get X-rays. And
no. Like he's lucky I kept him on the air though, because he went to Duke. So
I forgot you're a fan of 8 million basketball, baseball. Name all your football teams, Yeti, Smetana.
All right, so here we go. Yeah. This, I grew up in North Carolina in my mom's hometown, so all her family's big time Tar Heel fans. So we're Tar Heels from her. My dad grew up just outside of Tallahassee, so all his side of the family is big Florida State fans. So those are my college teams.
You're a BYU fan because Streeter went there, probably.
Not at all. I was born in Provo, though. My parents were at BYU. Then Dad got on academic probation because he just. I think he probably quit going to class.
Had babies.
So yeah, because he was too busy making 9 months and 6 days after the wedding. But yeah, my parents were at BYU when I was born. But no, I've always kind of railed against that because everyone I go to church with, it's the Lord's team. I'm like, he doesn't care. He's got bigger things to cry about than who wins in a stupid ass football game. And so I always just kind of like rebel without a cause against BYU. I don't hate BYU, but I'm never like, no, BYU. Like I never feel this like responsibility to support BYU. So
one night, not too long ago, I was doing some drunken Twitter scrolling, and Jim McMahon said, follow me and I'll follow you back if you give me a good reason. I said, I'm near a BYU school. It ain't in Hawaii or Utah. And sure enough, Jim McMahon's now my biggest follow.
That's right. Yeah, because you're not far out of Rexburg, are you?
No.
Are you? Yeah. So that's funny. You got Jim McMahon. Yeah. My parents were on campus, I think, around the same time he was, and you can't tell me that that they didn't bend some rules for him. But
right.
But anyway, yeah. So it's Carolina and Florida State for college. Baseball, it's the Braves. That's who I grew up with, and then I moved out to Seattle, and the Mariners were actually my first major league game that I went to, and I fell in love with them. Same lovable loser stuff that I fell in love with the Braves when I was a kid in the 80s. And so
they were terrible.
Absolutely love the Mariners. Basketball, I adopted the Heat a few years ago. I never had a ride or die team, but because of the show's enthusiasm, right about it was they still had He Who Shall Not Be Named on the team. I can't remember if it was before or after the Butler signing, but I wasn't fully committed. So I full on will admit, a bandwagon Heat homer. I'll admit that, but I'm going to stick with them. Like they are my ride or die team. The only thing that will split it is if the Sonics come back, and also I'll do like I do with baseball and have my East Coast team, my West Coast team.
That's when I was done with basketball. When the Sonics disappeared,
that was heartbreaking because I was out there their last year there.
I was a big Kemp and Peyton guy back in. Oh man, that left Shrimp
getting to go to a game.
That gives me a warm feeling. Just Detlef Shrimp. Just let that sit for a while
because you're allergic to
shellfish.
Do you think of the Sonics when you think of Detlef Shrimp, or do you think of the Pacers?
I think of the Sonics.
Me too. But the Pacers, it made me have to go back in my I had to look it up because I was like, how long did he play with which? Because when he showed up on Parks and Rec, I was like, he did play with the Pacers. Crap, what's the history here? I can't remember. And so
that's where he started, right? They draft him. Detlef Shrimp, drafted with the 8th pick in the first round of the 1985 draft by the Dallas Mavericks.
I can't remember now.
I think he signed with Seattle.
I haven't looked it up since I was writing my Doliak song. And I wanted to make sure that he didn't win a championship. Because I needed to rhyme. I needed to throw in Greg Ostertag and Detlef Shrimp. Basically that they're nothing, because the one thing that comforts me is that legacies are measured out in rings. And, Doliak's got one. They don't. So
I wish Greg Ostertag had one. Now I'm kind of sad that Greg Ostertag doesn't have a
what
ring.
A name. That's what we called in church ball growing up. If there's a big white dude, he was always called Ostertag. Or if it's a big white dude with kind of a flat top, he was Eric Montross. That's what we call him.
What about Big Country Bryant Reeves? Some love for him.
That was a little after my church ball days. So
the nickname Yeti Blanc, where does this come from?
Two-prong approach to that. My wife, when I was on Facebook, she would love to. I have size 14 feet. And I kind of lumber around. I mean, I'm only 6'1".
Oh yeah!
So, I mean,
wow.
It's not like I'm like this complete lerp that's 6'7". But I move kind of slow, and so she always just kind of jokes on me about the Sasquatch, walking through the woods picture and stuff. So when I was on Facebook, she'd get into my account and change my profile picture to Sasquatch all the time. So there's kind of all the little Yeti undertones with that. But there's the microphones, the blue microphones makes the Yetis. That's the model. Right. And I can't remember if I saw a Yeti that was white. By blue microphones, or if it was just, I know that blue makes the Snowball as well. That's another microphone and that's a white one. If it's this round thing, it's a white one. But either way, for some reason, the YETI BLANC hit me, and I was like, that would be. I started joking around. I was like, that would be my rap name, blah blah blah. But then as I started getting into doing more music, I was like, that fits as my music name. I'll do it. And I liked it because it would also it could be a full on band's name as well.
True.
It not most likely, but it could be, like, it could fit. And so it's not like I'm Dave Matthews Band up here.
Like an early 2000s alternative band.
Well, no, I'd have to be YETI BLANC 87 or something. I'd have to have or the YETI BLANCs or the BLANCs or something like that.
That'd be good. Yeah, I think that
because it was always the followed by one syllable plural word.
Right.
That was a big trend.
Scottish.
And then the numbers thing was a trend, like Sum 41 made fun of that in one of their videos. They called themselves the Sums, which was a funny little joke on that. But
well, now that we've transitioned over to the music, we got some top 5 lists here. I hear there's some animosity, a little bit of friction. I'm positioned right here in the Zoom well enough to separate you two, but give me a little history on this. Bring me up to speed.
Sure. Our friend Yeti is a huge Beatles fan. If you listen to anything he's ever talked about anywhere on a podcast, he talks about the Beatles.
Same.
And I had my first fun interaction with him and Streeter and Taché over a Rolling Stone cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. And so Yeti, we thought we'd bring some Beatles conversation into our evening to transition just a little bit. So we got to start where everyone should, which is always, what are your top 5 Rolling Stones songs?
So Troy's trying to troll me here.
Yeti, while we give you I'm gonna try to stall a little bit.
Oh, there's the capo magic.
There it is.
No, you're gonna stall.
Yeah, just to give you a second to get your list. You know what I mean? Like we're
fair. Good.
Why don't we all sing together? Hey Jude.
Wait, do we have to get the money to afford that, Ron?
Hold on.
One of my favorite episodes of Arrested Development is when there was a fight going on between rival banana stands, and Ron Howard's voiceover comes on and says, "The whole thing really fit together to Yellow Submarine, but really, who could afford that?" And so they made their own little spoof song that was, "We're floating along in our yellow boat, we're taking a stand in our yellow boat." And they've got the echoing, "In our yellow boat."
I really like those Arrested Development songs they did. They did. I like
Balls
the one,
in the Air is my favorite.
Well, yeah, the jungle one. That's a really good one.
How much can you do? Just grab a hold and juggle all those balls in the air. It's so good. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Now, I will say this, Troy. I don't hate the Stones. I'm just kind of indifferent to them. They just don't do much for me. With that,
Same.
They
exactly what a hater would say before they get their top 5 list.
but they do have some songs that I enjoy. I do have to give them credit on some. And I will say, to dispel them, there's for a long time been this myth that the Beatles and Stones hated each other, but they didn't really. Like it became a media thing. And in fact, one of my favorite bands, they're actually from Minnesota. They're called from Duluth, called Low. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. Just really beautiful, really weird artsy music. But they've got a song called Hatchet, and it says, "Let's bury the hatchet like the Beatles and the Stones." And it's a excellent song. But I mean, if I remember right, Mick tried to warn John against signing with Alan Klein, which ultimately led to the Beatles breakup, because Klein basically it was the Stones had their in England they do LTDs, not LLCs.
Right.
And Alan was having them sign all their publishing rights and everything over, and he had them sign it to the Rolling Stones LLC, which was his corporation that he started in the United States. So all their catalog from I don't remember what year, 67, maybe something like that. All the publishing royalties would go to Alan Klein. He basically just stole it right out from under him because he switched out the LTD for an LLC. So he is, the king bastard of the world. But if I remember right, Mick even tried to convince John don't go with him, but I can't remember. But I also think that's how he met John, was through Mick. So I don't remember the story there. But either way, all right, on to the top 5. Okay, so I might have a couple of these song names wrong, but number 5 is Angie. I don't. Is that called Angie? Angie.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, number 4. I don't remember. Is this?
Ta-da! Ta-da! Ta-da!
Yeah. Ba-ba.
Number 4.
All right. What's the one? I can't remember if this is the one about Friend of the Devil or no. That's the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
But what, Troy? What's the song with the devil?
Sympathy for the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil. Is that the woo woo? Pleased to meet you. Yeah. That
classic.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. I like that
all right.
one.
Number 3 is Can't Always Get What You Want. Number 2, Wild Horses. I actually have a great fondness for that song. I think it's beautiful. I played guitar on that song with my sister in her high school talent show, and she actually won first place. She sang it with her friend Nathan, and they won first place. And it's the first time any of us won anything in any type of talent competition. I think it's because she actually prepared. Yeah, I was very bad at.
You're a ringer.
Funny how that works.
Yeah,
You're a ringer.
I know.
That doesn't count. You're too good. That doesn't count. You're a ringer.
I am not a good guitarist. I'm not. I am. I'm really good. I can play chords for anybody. I can do very, very small amounts of lead, but I never took lessons. I never learned my scales. And so
same way.
It just, but
the okayest guitar player.
If in the studio, I can do some really cool guitar stuff because I can just overdub and fix my mistakes 100,000 times.
Like, but, let's just slide that part up a little bit where I was on beat, and then that'll be great.
Yep. Or I'll cut this part out and record these 2 notes that I got wrong, and overdub those in. Yeah,
we'll get it in post. Damn it.
Yep. That's it. So, if I ever
and number 1 we got.
And number 1 is Jumpin' Jack Flash. I was born in a Crossfire Hurricane. I don't have a ranking for this, but it has to be top 10 opening lyrics to a song. It's absolutely, that's awesome. So if I have to listen to Rolling Stones songs, that's about the only 5 I would listen to as well. So, and that would be my ranking. And don't ask me to name anymore. I don't know that I can name any of their other songs.
That was the same problem I ran into.
Appropriately named songs nowadays. If you go back through their discography on Wikipedia, you can see a whole bunch of stuff that didn't really age well, shall we say?
You can say the same about a lot of things. I mean, look at Led Zeppelin's entire catalog.
Isn't "Gimme Shelter" not being on the list a pretty big upset?
I couldn't even sing "Gimme Shelter."
It's in every Scorsese movie, pretty much.
That is the equivalent. That is the equivalent of Scott Van Pelt leaving Kevin Durant off of his all-time forwards list back in like 2014, something like that.
We'll ask you for the new list at the end.
Yeah.
The only thing I throw out there is that You Can't Always Get What You Want has been covered by so many great jam bands. I bet you can find 1,000 versions out there, from Hot Tuna and Rusted Roots and some of those 90s jammers.
Man.
So you want to find some fun stuff to strum to, that's where it's at.
I basically burned a hole in the CD of When I Woke when I was in my sophomore year, because one of the guys on the soccer team introduced me to it.
Hot Tuna. Papa John Creech, I see you, brother. Respect.
I have an update on the band Low. I reached out to my best friend who is from Duluth, Minnesota, and I asked him if he had heard of the band Low, and he says, yes, Low is pretty good. So major update.
Breaking news.
Wow.
And that's the extent of he and I talking music. It's not a Screeder Yeti music talk.
Troy doesn't have a Stones list, we should move on to the Beatles. We had top 5 Beatles cameos on their albums.
As I don't know that I could name 5 people who were guests on their albums, because I can only think of on like the actual Beatles albums. You've got Eric Clapton,
number 1
on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Billy Preston on most of the
number
Let It Be
2
album.
Yeah,
but I don't know who else ever actually recorded on their stuff.
Well, you got my number 1 and my number 2, so I'll take you down to number 3, George Martin. In My Life. But that harpsichord solo,
he's an additional Beatle. Like so I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Fair.
But yeah, because he did that on In My Life, right?
Oh yeah, that harpsichord solo is the shit.
That was George Martin, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll take you down to number 4. Davy Jones, Penny Lane.
Davy Jones from the Monkees.
Yeah. Yep. If you listen to Anthology, there's a weird thing where they it runs after it was faded out, and you hear a voice, and I always, who the hell is it?
And that was Davy Jones. I never knew that.
On Penny Lane. And my number 5 to tip back to Troy's list was Mick and Keith and 24 other people on All You Need Is Love.
Oh, they were in the crowd on that? I didn't realize.
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah. They sang backup vocals on those.
I didn't
realize. Like I said, 24 other people, Linda and you name it, they're all in there.
Very cool. I fell in love with Linda this past year.
Yeah.
Just became really fascinated with her and who she was and kind of what she did with Paul. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. She was really cool.
I was looking up the credits for that song, and Greg Cody also on that song, believe it or not.
You never know.
Wesley.
Wikipedia is the source, so I mean, hey. You can't
always
believe.
Someone get on that right now and change the entry for like Hey Jude and features background vocal for Greg Cody. He would love nothing more.
Yes, we got to do that now. Yes.
And somebody edit him into the Sgt. Pepper's cover. Just
if
his
someone
head
does
in
that,
the
please
back.
send me the screenshot, please.
Yeah,
because he would love.
Put him in the
more
back,
than
like over
even
top
for
of
5
Muhammad
seconds
Ali.
Be featured as a guest singer on Hey Jude.
Well, Yeti, I guess I'd like to ask, since we've delayed you a while now and you've got to go before too long, let's talk about our little draft the commission ginned up with Goods and a few other folks. I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun to do, and I think that my team that I was able to draft with you on it as the anchor man was kind of rock solid for lots of reasons. But I was wondering,
who would I be on that team? Would I be the glue guy?
You're the glue guy for sure. You got the technique. You can sing, you can dance, you can.
It's going to go off the rails, right? So they need
the producer. I mean, you get to manage that talent.
What were you saying, Joe?
Witty and Smetty are gonna. They're already getting into it on occasion where she gets annoyed with him. You're gonna have to break that one up, I think.
So good though. That combo,
I think they're great together. And no, I was thrilled to be included. So let me start there. I was like, when Troy was telling me about it, I was like, what? How am I? Or no, he didn't even tell me about it. He just told me to give it a listen. And so I did. And I hear my name on the board. I'm like, what? That's weird, but I'll take it. Whatever. I really don't belong here, but I'll take it. You squeezed out someone else. So who got left out because of me?
I think first one out was Mikey A, or was it Golick?
Someone who's literally part of the network.
We wanted everyone in the Greg Cody show included. So,
yeah, I really appreciated that. That was cool.
We wanted producers as well. We wanted to have to choose between some producers. And I think our list, I think it's a pretty strong list.
I will say I went too high, but I'll take it. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't belong here, but I'll take it.
Okay. Let me ask you then.
Okay.
3 questions for you that you can think about. 1, what's the most egregious pick, or what's the most egregious non-pick or fall, whatever? 2, you have to pick one that you definitely think you should have been drafted before that you weren't. And who is your dead last pick?
Someone at the big board up here? Because
What will happen next? What rankings will we get from this week's special guest, YETI BLANC? Stay tuned to the Half-Ass Podcast Network for the exciting conclusion, which begins now.